Buddy the Elf, what color is your pussy?
Very red. Oh. I'm sorry.
Well,
it's like you teed me up for that.
And it's my fault. You know, erectile dysfunction can happen to anyone.
And it's never easy, and sometimes it's genuinely mortifying.
And thank you for speaking from personal experience, Andrew. And for listeners, you can get 40% off your first order at rocketrx.com when you use code GOODCHILDREN.
Go to rocketrx.com and use code GOODCHILDREN at checkout for 40% off your order.
Terms and conditions apply. That's rocketrx.com when using code GOODCHILDREN to get 40% off your order at checkout.
The offer 40% off your order is only applicable for new customers and cannot be combined with other offers.
And this offer is not available for prescription, so don't even try it.
And that's how we started
That's how I chose to begin this day.
And you were afraid of jerking off before you went to the church, and you had to say, what color is your pussy?
What if we started our original Christmas music like today? Because I think Jerking Off on Christmas Day is an amazing song.
I think it would be played around the world.
And it's like, and that's what I get for jerking off on Christmas Day. I think that's the hook. It's like, and that's what I get for jerking off on Christmas Day. So it's like,
and
what are all the things that you
harmonies.
get? What are all the things? Yeah, of course.
For sure.
But what are the things that you get for jerking off on Christmas Day? It's like, obviously coal.
You're getting coal, yeah.
Obviously coal. Obviously.
But you're getting everything else that everyone else is getting too, like the food. You know what I mean? So like, don't worry about the party.
But it's like,
afterwards.
but I think maybe the problem is like the food. The food doesn't taste as good.
If you can tie in like the hope and the Christmasness of Polar Express, like that bell, like you don't hear the bell anymore.
The bell stopped ringing, and that's what I get for jerking off on Christmas Day.
Yes.
Maybe it's the bell stopped ringing, and that's what I get for jerking off on Christmas morning. Morning, you know?
Yeah, I guess like the ing.
The bells
you can do
ring.
something with like something like an innuendo with like the bell. I feel like the bell can represent a lot of things.
I jingled my bells.
I jingled
my bells. I'm going to
hells. Santa's no longer on his way. This is one of the worst days.
I masturbated to straight porn in 6th grade.
Yeah.
And that I think could make it near tier of Christmas shoes in terms of like classic that people want to cry hearing.
Because I know around the world people feel that feeling.
Because everyone has done that. Everyone's done that.
They know the guilt. They know the shame. They know he's watching.
Really, I mean, listen, I wouldn't be talking about this for 3 years straight if it wasn't a real shame.
It wasn't
real guilt.
Something shocking that I feel like you said today, and I don't know if this should be included, but do you know those stickers that say "Keep Christ in Christmas"?
I think. Well, listen. I don't want to be inflammatory on Christmas morning.
I get it. You're right.
But all I was saying is, I think we should keep Christ out of Christmas. And I'm not saying it.
But you think isn't it his Mas?
It's his Mas. And let's get into the linguistics of what that means. So Christ Mas. Mas coming from the Latin word mass.
I'm assuming for sure.
Which is gathering. It's a gathering of Christ.
Yes.
Is my assumption of what that word means.
Absolutely.
And that's amazing. And you know what? It's kind of like, it's like Halloween. We gave up on the pagan rituals many, many, many centuries ago. And I just think Christmas at this point should be a completely secularized holiday. I think anyone should be allowed to celebrate Christmas.
I feel like for the most part it is.
I know, but I can't imagine growing up without Christmas and without it being like tied to my religion as a kid.
You're right.
I'd be the biggest hater in the group.
But at this point, I feel like Christmas for me, it's Ariana Grande, it's Celine Dion. You love that Kesha one?
No, I don't. I'm sorry, I don't, because it's Holiday Road. Why is she covering Holiday Road for Christmas?
Because some people drive down a holiday road.
No, I'm sorry. No.
So keep Christ in Christmas.
Keep
Joy to the
Christ
world.
out of Christmas and keep Kesha out of Christmas. Keep Kesha out of Christmas.
But what holiday could Kesha have?
Halloween.
You're
New
right.
Year's Eve.
You're
she
right.
can have Easter. Honestly, give her Easter.
She would do an amazing Easter bunny hop song.
She would do an amazing, like, I woke up in the morning, had to check for the eggs.
Bunny hop top.
spreading these legs.
Oh my God, they're schmegs.
Does that mean smegma?
Yeah.
Good children. I'm Joe Hegyes.
And I'm Andrew Muscarella.
And this is
Good Children. We spent 24 years growing together.
And now it's time for us to grow up.
It's always hard to grow up when you're wearing a Santa suit and you're dressed like Buddy the Elf.
It is. It does really put a lot into perspective. At this point, I've seen you dressed as Santa for as long as I can remember.
So many times. And I mean, I feel this way when I wear a priest outfit. Mm-hmm. I feel this way when I wear a Santa suit. Mm-hmm. I feel this way when I put on braids sometimes. Like, I just feel natural in these situations. I guess it's just like dressing up not like myself, but I can see myself, and I think we've said it before, really just being Santa. You know what I mean? If it all goes bad for me,
you're gonna sign it. Oh, we talked about this last year. If you took over the role of Santa Claus, if you were in the Santa Claus.
But even Macy's, I'll talk to Macy's this year.
You would be a fantastic mall Santa,
right?
Did you have you ever been Santa for loved ones?
I have never been Santa for loved ones. It's one of my biggest stressors.
Why?
Because my family always, every single year, for the kids,
they tell you that you should do it.
Well, yeah, it's a conversation that happens
and
now that I'm getting older.
Stresses you out?
Yeah, I get anxious. I don't want to do it for some reason. I don't know what that is.
Why would that stress you out?
Because can you imagine you slipped up? Imagine you slipped up. Something happened. These kids are 8. Your nieces, your nephews, they're 8 years old. They, for the first time, realized that Santa isn't real and you had to.
And it's Uncle Andrew's fault.
And it's Uncle Andrew's fault. I would be mortified. I'd be sick.
That F word, Uncle Andrew.
Yeah. That, I was trying to think of a word, but it wasn't working for me. That, what's it like a good way to call like a gay person, like in Christmas terms? Like, that Yule log?
That mistletoe.
No.
That fairy is always an option. That's always fairy.
That jingle bell.
That gingerbread man.
Oh yeah, gingerbread man is for sure one of the gayest characters in the Christmas lore.
Isn't there a book about the gingerbread man that like runs away, or is it the Stinky Cheese Man? Are you familiar with the Stinky Cheese Man? I'm looking right at him.
What do you have to say about the Stinky Cheese Man?
Do you know about the Stinky Cheese Man?
I know nothing about the Stinky Cheese Man.
You weren't reading the book The Stinky Cheese Man in elementary school?
I wasn't reading. What does he smell like?
Stinky cheese.
Blue cheese?
It's like he's like a stinky cheese man. Like he's a man made out of stinky cheese. And he like runs away or something. I don't really know the rest of it.
Are you just writing a book based on my life?
It's been written. It is written since at least the early 2000s, at the very least.
So it's a man that stinks that needs to run away from his problems?
He's made of cheese. He looks like a small boy, but he is called the Stinky Cheese Man. His head is like a head of brie. And he's a stinky cheese man. I don't really know what else his plot is.
Okay, well,
did you ever read The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane?
I have a feeling that usually when a conversation or a sentence starts with "Have you ever read?"
But these are books that, like, as a child, I was reading. Like, it's like books like I feel like almost obligatory.
No,
he was a rabbit that ran away. A lot of these books followed a very simple premise.
Running away.
Anthropomorphic person, animal, cheese hybrid gets lost or runs away and ultimately finds their way back home. Wait, I'm sorry. What's in the sack?
You want to know what's in my sack?
Because it's completely off camera, so it's just like you almost brought that for no reason.
I have a few goodies in here. There's a sweatshirt in here just to fill up the sack. I didn't know if I wanted to like hold the sack at some point.
What was all that in there? What was the jangle? Yeah.
I got a slinky for you.
Slinky.
I got a slinky for you this year, buddy.
That's really amazing.
I got my Cosmo costume in here.
It came.
It finally came. Wow. Anyways.
Growing up for Christmas is particularly a challenging time, I would say. We both stopped believing in Santa 6th grade.
6th grade. It was forced.
By whom? It was 6th grade.
He told me in 4th grade, but I think it takes a few years for things to sink in for me. So when I'm told in 4th grade, it took about 2 years for me to recognize maybe he was right. Yeah, and it was 6th grade, worst Christmas of my life.
It is. It really is the worst. What would you say that is if you think about it, the worst Christmas you've ever had?
Yeah, absolutely.
Was the day you reckoned with the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like one that like the entire day you're talking to your family, you're talking to your cousins. It's like they don't know you know, but you so know.
Because it's tough because no one wants to ruin it for you. Believing in Santa is a lot like being in the closet as a gay child because it's like no one wants to point it out. No one wants to say to you, hey, are you gay yet? And no one wants to say, hey, do you still believe in Santa Claus? Because both of those questions lead to a can of worms that just do not need to be opened on Christmas morning. And I kind of wish both of those circumstances happened to me. I wish in around fifth grade, someone, an adult in my life said, or an older cousin or someone said, like, you still believe in Santa Claus, by the way? Just checking in. Because if someone asked me that, I would say, now that you're asking me that, I know the answer is. Well, I know the answer is no.
It's the question when you're saying believe. Do you still believe?
Well,
that is just already enough. Exactly. And that's one of my favorite Christmas songs just because it makes me feel.
Believe. By Josh Groban.
It makes me feel, I mean, any song out of his mouth for me.
Yeah.
It stinks, but it's true. But do you still believe? That phrase in itself is a tough one to hear.
Do you still believe?
Do you still believe?
Because
it's kind of like, then you should be answering probably no. I guess, do you still believe in God? That's what I'm saying.
If I was in fifth grade and someone said that to me, I would say no. Immediately say no. Because I'd be like, that means I'm not supposed to. But Polar Express was the propaganda I needed to be like, well, you guys might not believe, but I still believe, and that's why I get Christmas presents.
I can still hear the bell ringing.
Yeah. I can still, that bell is ringing in my head 24/7. 24/7.
Yeah. But now when I go to the Bryant Park Market, it's basically the same exact thing.
What does that mean?
I can feel Christmas again. For so long.
Do you feel Christmas though at a Christmas market? Because I feel hell, stress, and anxiety.
No, when I'm smelling those waffle dinkies being made. Is that what they're called? I don't know.
I'm gonna assume not.
I'm gonna assume
be really
that's
correct.
not the words. But the waffles being made, the hot chocolate being pumped
out.
No
chewing allowed. No chewing allowed. Hot chocolate.
Some of the best hot chocolate.
We gotta
Seeing
get
people
there
from
tonight.
all over.
We gotta get there today.
I would go tonight.
We gotta go because I need the hot chocolate.
I would go tonight for hot chocolate.
I'm busy tonight, but otherwise I would go with you.
But the thing about a Christmas market, you see people, and the whole point of Christmas, especially when you're an adult, you listen to these songs. It's like people are finding their loved ones. They're having love on Christmas. I'm watching Love Actually. Everyone's making out.
Is that tough for you?
Yeah, it's a little bit tough for me. Leave it for Valentine's Day.
It is kind of crazy that that's keep Christ and keep kissing out of Christmas. Because it is unfortunate that Christmas. Because I remember in my loneliest hour by Sam Smith, I was at TWA Airport. This was fall 2019. It was early December, I think, actually. And I was there with my family for some reason, staying there, which is just a crazy choice to make. For those unacquainted, TWA Airport is a airport hotel at JFK in New York, but it is the old Pan Am, it's the old TWA terminal. Gorgeous, 1960s. Very expensive and nothing to do. So unless you're flying out at 4 a.m. the next day from JFK, you should not stay there. Although I personally love it.
They seem like they have some good food options.
Well, let's not lie.
What do you mean? People were getting food all night long. They had ice creams.
Listen, I just remember being starving and being bored out of my goddamn mind.
Okay.
And I will say that's on me because one time I went there with Gina and I stayed for 2 nights for no reason. A 2-night stay at TWA
That just
Airport.
Seems like a waste of money and a waste of time.
It was a huge waste of money and a huge waste of time. And I didn't bring my laptop, and Gina worked the whole time, so I just sat there. I just sat at TWA Airport. But anyway, there was a December where I was there with my family, and Amanda was there with Anthony, obviously my mom and dad, and just me. And it was ice skating. And it was this airport really, all TWA makes me want to do is make a Christmas movie. I want to write and direct a Christmas film that takes place at TWA Airport. And I'm just sitting there looking gorgeous in my ASOS finest. And 21, 22, 23, one of those ages, 23 years old. Santa, That's My Only Wish This Year by Britney Spears began to play. And that was the moment. That was my rock bottom that year. Because last night I took a walk in the cold, couples holding hands, places to go, Seems like everyone but me is in love. Santa, can you hear me? I signed my letter.
I've always resonated with Kelly Clarkson. I knew it. Oh, it's
Britney Spears. It's Britney Spears.
Sorry, I just wanted to get Kelly Clarkson in there.
I'm sure she would find a way into this conversation.
But that song is miserable.
I think it is my favorite Christmas song, but I just remember being like, oh, this is the reminder I needed that I'm very alone. Like holidays are the real reminder, especially when you go home and all of your fucking siblings are married with 18 kids. And I'm just drilling this in for you. I'm really painting the picture for you, I guess.
No, it's nice.
It's really hard to do that. So how do you cope?
How do I cope?
Yeah. Emotional eating.
Absolutely. I was going to say I eat more than you can ever imagine on Christmas Day, Christmas Eve for sure. I have to buy 18,000
Are you okay with the beard?
The beard is really tough
I
for
feel
me.
like it's setting a tone for you. What if you just did it like that? Yeah. I feel like you're going to be a lot happier.
It's in my mouth. I'm so back, you guys. How do I cope? Yeah, I emotionally eat. I drink a little bit. Some rum chata. Some rum chata on the holidays.
A mom loves a rum chata.
A mother loves a rum chata from the bottle.
Yes.
Just the rum chata bottle. They're not making the homemades.
No, just the rum chata bottle.
Just the rum
with
chata
a little
bottle.
ice.
And what I love about a Christmas party and a Christmas event, or at least for my family, is the drinks are always outside.
Ooh.
So when you have to go outside, it's freezing.
Yeah.
It's Christmas. There's lights stringing. You're drinking the coldest Coke you've ever had in your life. A rum chata.
Christmas is for Coke.
I'm escaping all of my feelings from the day because I'm single, I'm lonely, I'm depressed, but I know that I want to
return to that.
A fish meal.
Yeah.
Fish deal. I wish I was getting a fish deal.
When you're a single grown adult on Christmas,
especially towards your later 20s, I feel like early 30s.
Because it's like, are all your cousins in relationships? I know there's 1,000 of them, but like
for the most part, aside from one.
Okay.
For the most part, I'm sorry, Jenny.
It's you and Jenny.
It's me and Jenny.
At least you have Jenny.
I knew it was gonna be. I always knew it was gonna be Jenny. But Jenny's a homeowner. You know what I mean?
So that unfortunately Jenny kind of wins. Yeah.
She won, and so she can decorate her gorgeous home.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
That's really nice for Jenny.
But I do wonder. Do you feel like owning a home on Christmas when you're alone is tougher?
Okay, I get that. I don't want to put myself in Jenny's shoes by any means.
In her blue suedes.
Stop. But I do. Something else I was going to point out before we get back to Jenny is whenever we do these costumes, we shoot from like wherever you see my waist up. Andrew has on full boots, full thigh-high boots in the current moment.
It's because like we fully commit to the bit, so I want you guys to know like it might be Christmas, but in here, girl, it feels like the fucking Savannah Desert.
I'm comfortable.
That word doesn't normally come out of my mouth.
Being comfortable?
No.
You look like Mrs. Claus in drag as Santa Claus. That wig.
The wig is crazy.
Was it last year that we wrote that movie about Mrs. Claus having a sub in?
Mm-hmm.
I think that it already exists, The Year Without Santa Claus.
Yes.
That we spent like an hour and a half talking about the idea of Mrs. Claus taking over, and we're like, this is a really good movie. It fully existed.
I don't think. Well, what if they both were out for the count? Who goes in then?
I'm sure one of those movies exists too. I'm sure.
An elf.
What do they get? COVID? What? I thought you said something so much worse than that.
They killed
Jenny.
So
I think she gets to actually live out the archetype of the Hallmark character in a way that most people don't get to experience in their lives. Because I think that in every Hallmark movie, it is like a single woman who owns a beautiful home and decorates that home beautifully for Christmas.
Yes.
And she's always like, home for the holidays.
Gotta go out in the town.
Yeah. And that to me, like, it's the fig tree. It's Sylvia Plath for me.
Yes.
Because it's always like, my life is branching out before me, like the leaves of this fig tree, and I have to select one. But if I pick one fig, the rest of the figs are gonna die. We all know this allegory.
Yes.
It's like, can I be a kindergarten teacher that lives in Massachusetts? Should I be English teacher at Oxford? Should I become a professor? Should I get my master's in medieval sex and pleasure in England?
Where are we going?
So my point is,
okay.
my point is, Jenny gets to experience something that I think we all kind of wish we got to experience around the holidays at least one time, which is to be an independent adult who's financially stable in a home.
In a gorgeous home.
And some part of that longing, and I don't know, I have no idea what Jenny's feeling. And at this point, Jenny is no longer your cousin. It is the concept of a character.
It's the concept of the character. And I know that Jenny is going to listen. And I know that some of my cousins are going to listen. And I just need to preface. I actually wish I was also walking in Jenny's shoes.
That's what I'm fully
she's
saying.
A size 8.
So you
a
guys
size 8 or 9.
In the same shoe.
Probably a small, like a shoe or like a boot. She'll probably wear a boot on Christmas. Yeah. And I can only imagine myself in Jenny's boots. And just being able to go home and wake up on Christmas Day to yourself with some cute
I know she's making a delicious warm drink.
And I'm sure she's hosting her parents. I'm sure she's doing it all. And that seems like honestly the life. And
it does. And no one's making a mess. No one's making a mess. You go to sleep at night. The idea of living alone in a house is actually my dream case scenario.
Especially for the holidays. And you know what? I think in this situation, Joe.
That Keurig is clean.
Yeah. Oh, you have a clean Keurig.
Yeah.
Because here,
it's disgusting. It's disgusting. Swamplands.
it's literally the bayou. Anyways, I will say, for the Jennies, to be able to go back to your home, to be single, and you know what? I'm gonna loop myself into this situation as well. We're rewriting the narrative of Christmas because every single song, as we said, every movie, you're with somebody. You're waiting for that day that you're walking into the town village and you're gonna see your lumberjack.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for that day.
You've been waiting for that day since you were about 12.
Falling down the mountain, they take me out with them. I land on top of them, and I'm like, hey, I'm waiting for that. But sometimes you got to give up the wait. It's time to board the plane.
And what the fuck does that mean? Like sometimes you are just saying things just to say things, and that makes no sense. What does that mean?
The wait is over and it's time to board the plane.
Yeah, what is that? Where is the plane going?
On a one-way trip to I don't know. You lost me here. You lost me here.
I didn't lose you.
You lost me.
You're
running circles around me now. I have no idea what I'm saying.
You lost me.
You're making me lose my
train of thought. You had no idea what you were saying to begin with.
Now I lost my train of thought.
There was no train. The train was off the tracks.
Don't talk about the Polar Express like that.
I don't fuck with that movie. We've talked about it a million times.
Because it's scary as fuck.
Yeah, I'm pissed whenever I even hear about it.
Well, should we do a full episode on the Polar Express itself? I think it's in New Jersey.
Oh my God, I've always wanted to go on the Polar Express.
I want to go to the Polar Express.
Things I've always wanted to do. Ride the Polar Express just for the hot chocolate.
Correct.
I would love to visit Whoville and not just on the Universal Studios back. No, I don't think it exists. Oh. I'm just saying I'd like to go there one day.
I'd like to be in Australia for Christmas.
You're home invading my boyfriend's family, verbally, weekly,
for everyone to hear.
Yes.
It's just like, I feel like, I don't have to be with your boyfriend's family. I just feel like the holidays are off limits in Australia now for me.
They're not off limits. I'm confused. You're going to say to your family, you're going to say to your mother and father, sorry guys, I can't make it home for Christmas this year. I'm going to Australia. What would your mother say to that? I would actually love to hear her response.
I can only assume my mother would say, because it's her birthday as well.
Yeah, holy shit.
It would be like, what happened? You don't care about me? What did I do? And I think in that moment, obviously, it's nothing that she did, and I obviously still care about her. It's like more of like, I want to experience what it's like to have Christmas in Australia. It's just so hot.
It wasn't admittedly that hot when I was there this past year.
Aren't they surfing with Santa hats on?
I'm sure someone's done that before. Yeah, I'm sure. I know that like the main Christmas meal is like shrimp on the bobby. It's like you do a barbecue outside for Christmas.
You know what? I don't want to go. I want the 7 fishes. I want the sauces. I want to feel cold and wake up and say, is there going to be snow today?
Well, that hasn't happened in New York for years now. It's been like 60, 70 degrees on Christmas.
I'll tell you why.
Why? Tell me why.
I'll tell you why it's been 60 to 70 degrees. Global warming. Global warming. And
yeah, I think you might be right. I honestly had no remote thought in my mind that that's what you would say.
Yeah.
Because you famously deny climate change.
That's not true. I can't do this anymore. I'm not going to be able to do this anymore because listeners out there actually think that they're like, where was he on January 6th? I have to prove myself. I have to prove myself that I believe in global warming because I do. I have to prove myself that I have my COVID. My COVID is kind of a gorgeous name. My COVID vaccine. Santa pisses just like you guys. Sitting down.
What will happen the day that Totino comes to you and asks if Santa is real?
I'm going to have to tell him the straight up truth.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, Toady.
Christmas is coming up.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Right?
Yeah.
Ho, ho, ho.
I'm excited.
Oh. Totino, what's up?
Nothing, Dad. I've been thinking a lot about Santa lately.
He's a jolly old fellow, huh?
Someone at school told me that he's not real.
Who's this person? Totino, tell me their name. Totino, tell me, who was it?
I don't want to tell you their name because the last time I told you one of my classmates' name, you called up their mom and you got into a fight with them in front of the school, and it really embarrassed me.
I'll keep my temper this time, Totino.
Can you just tell me if Santa's real or not?
How old are you right now?
You don't remember how old I am? I'm 10 years old.
All right, Totino. Can I see you in my room for a second? I have to read you a book and I need to tell you something at the end.
Okay.
So then this is the time we're sitting. I'm reading you a cute little Christmas story about Santa and old Saint Nick. And then at the end, I say, "Do you believe?" And he says,
I'm confused as to why you just read me that story out of nowhere.
Because I want to know if you still feel something. Do you feel a connection?
I feel confused.
Were you gay?
I'm not old enough to think about that right now. I'm more focused on Santa right now.
Let's cut it. Totino. Santa is always with you and with your spirit. And he lives in the ether. He lives above us. Gifts are brought to the home. Not every single gift is from Santa, though.
What gifts are from Santa?
The gifts under the tree.
Those gifts?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to say this, but I saw that wrapping paper in your closet. And I wanted to try on some of your high heels the other day in your closet.
Totino, I am Santa Claus.
What?
Yeah.
You're Santa?
Mm-hmm.
For everyone?
Just for you, Totino.
So Santa's not real?
Santa's not real, but I hope, Totino, that you still believe that he gives the gift of holiday spirit.
So you lied to me for all these years? Did we really do this bit?
We had to have done this.
Did we do this exact same bit last year?
100%. 100%.
Did we?
100%.
Right?
1,000%. What else is there that we can talk about when it comes to that?
Well, it's Christmas.
I feel like every single Christmas movie was just like every Santa was different.
No, but he has a pretty solid uniform. Probably one of the most recognizable iconographies of all time. I think it honestly probably goes like Jesus and then Santa in terms of like recognizable uniforms. Like Jesus had like the robe.
And then like the Easter bunny.
Sure. But he's more of a bunny.
Yeah, exactly.
Like giant bunny. You know, like I feel like in terms of like people, it's like Jesus has like the robe and occasionally the crucifix. Santa has like the sassy red outfit. And then like who goes beyond that? Like who's the third most recognized? Marilyn Monroe? Michael Jackson?
No, I would say Marilyn Monroe before Michael. Well, Michael Jackson, the shoes. The shoes and the socks and the gloves.
And the glove. So it's either Michael Jackson, Marilyn Monroe.
Santa.
Well, Santa's definitely number 2. Yeah. If not number 1, I wonder.
No, I think that Santa is number 1 because Jesus, no one really knows. Well, we have an idea.
I'm saying like in terms of like iconography. I think Santa's pretty... But you know they made up Santa?
What do you mean they made up Santa?
I think we talked about this last year. Like, I think that like the Coca-Cola company invented the Santa we know today.
I think we might have.
They chose the colors like to go with marketing. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
When did they create Santa like that?
It's been going on for like probably at least 100 years.
You're telling me that in the 1800s there was no Santa Claus?
I think there was, but I don't think that it was as defined of an aesthetic. And I also think the Coca-Cola company was existing in the 1800s.
So you're telling me in the medieval times?
I could tell you a lot about the medieval times right now.
Can you tell me about how they viewed Santa Claus?
No, unfortunately I can't, but I'll do my research when I go to Oxford.
Joe's been toying around with this idea that he's going to go to school. He said he's leaving for London tomorrow. Like, what do you mean?
I am really obsessed with medieval culture, and I think that our current modern day climate really mirrors that of medieval times, and obviously of like pre-revolutionary France. And there's a lot of crazy stuff. I learned a lot of crazy shit about medieval England. A lot of crazy shit. Can I tell you one thing really quickly?
Tell us one thing before we get back onto Christmas, because it's Christmas Day.
I find this really interesting. And actually, I can tell you two things. I can tell you two
Okay,
things.
so it went from 1 to 2?
I can actually tell you two things if you want.
Please, tell me two things.
The first one that I find very interesting is in medieval Europe, a lot of sex workers were basically, it wasn't like as shunned or shamed as it is now. In fact, sex was actually a lot more in the culture than it is now, which is interesting because we always look at like the past and think that we're so much more liberated now. Not necessarily the case at all. It's just that stories that are passed down by governments and churches wipe out a lot of the sexuality thing. So keep your mind sharp. Anyway, in medieval Venice, sex workers were told to wear bells. Like they had to like jingle jangle down the street to basically be like, I'm a sex worker. And it wasn't like a shame. And it definitely was rooted in shaming, but also it was like just to separate the quote unquote like normal good people versus the sex workers on the street.
So jingle bells.
You're jingling and jangling, you're a sex worker. And here's what else I'll say. So then, like, obviously, as we all know, sex workers are historically like the most creative and talented people. So at this time in Venice, they were like, let's actually like make these wardrobes like incredible. Like if we're wearing these uniforms, like we're gonna serve the entire time. So now like everyone is actually like, we love their outfits. And then the upper echelon of Venice started dressing like the sex workers, which happens to this day. It's like literally the same thing. It's like, oh, like now like rich people will dress like poor people who had to make do with what they had.
Yeah.
And it's like watching the culture repeat itself. So it's always been this shit, which is really interesting. Secondary point, this is quicker and it ties into Christmas.
That was only the first point.
Yeah, I just found that really interesting.
I think it's very interesting.
And I learned all this from a YouTube video. It's not like I did my own research. Secondary point, and this is where I'm going to draw some really amazing conclusions. So pull over and think about this. This woman in this documentary was talking about how like, I was watching a ghost story, one about medieval ghosts, and basically she was like, you know, like a lot of modern horror genre is taken from medieval ghost stories that were passed down for centuries now. And she was like, but the reason those stories were passed down was because like the government and the church wanted them to be passed down, because if a story has existed for thousands of years in history, that's not on accident. It required like someone in power to make sure that story lasted the test of time, and there was a reason that story lasted. So basically these ghost stories, these like long standing traditions that we're familiar with, were kept in place because of people in power to keep people who aren't in power disempowered. You know what I mean? So like the church wanted people to hear these ghost stories. They were afraid of like doing bad things when they were alive, because then they'd come back as ghosts.
Very Jesus rooted.
Yes. And so I think that can relate to Santa Claus.
It does.
Because why are we still talking about Santa Claus? Someone in power centuries ago was making sure that Legend of Saint Nick continued to be told on and on because it had a reason to be told. And I think it's obviously pretty clear, cut and clear reason why. It's to keep children obeying their parents. And now I think the reason,
and father.
Exactly. I think now it's more so because like capitalism, and now it's like we need more people to love Santa because like people buy gifts and spend so much money on this shit and waste so much shit. But it's interesting. It's interesting to think.
It is
like
really
none of this is by accident.
It is really interesting that like That's why a lot of kids cry when they see Santa Claus.
Because he's actually the Punisher.
He's the Punisher.
He's the Punisher.
The one that does the work. He's the one that they know when they walk up to him, like, he's watching me. Like, he knows that I did something bad. Imagine, like...
Oh my God, fuck him. Holy shit. No, like, you have a really good point.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yes, there is this indication that Santa is, like, a benevolent and giving person, but there's also the fact of the matter is that he will give you fucking coal. Yeah, he knows when you've been bad, and if you're bad, Santa does not operate with unconditional love in any capacity. He has conditional love for children, and actually he is the Punisher.
He's the Punisher,
and that's the problem.
You did something wrong, you're punished.
You're punished. Of course you're going to cry when you see him.
Yeah.
Because he's literally the prison guard.
Yeah, he's the prison guard.
It's also very, very, very much the way that the boiled down way that Christianity is taught to us as kids. Mm-hmm. It's like, I definitely didn't think that God was a nice person. I was like, he's going to punish me. He's scary.
He knows that I'm sinning. I have to repent for my sins.
And Santa really is just a representation of God in many, many ways.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just with some hot chocolate and some cookies to mask it.
But both of those stories are told in such intent, and I get I do get the actual Bible one more so than the Santa one, but oh my God, he's a bitch.
He is.
Santa Claus is a bitch. Why are you beefing with kids?
Your
one job is to give toys to kids.
You're beefing with kids. These kids are scared. Then you're asking them what they want for Christmas, and then you're saying you better be a good boy or girl so I can get you what you want.
I hate him. Oh, he's really nasty, and I really don't want to be around him.
He's really... What do you mean?
You're Mrs. Claus right now. So okay. No, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's when you boil it down like that, it is actually really, really wild.
He's literally threatening children.
And now I'm going to think about that when I see, like, if I go to the mall, if I see kids taking pictures with Santa, if I see my nieces taking with Santa.
Back off. Get the fuck away from my kids.
Get the fuck off my nieces.
Who the fuck do you think you are?
You're going to punish my kids? You're going to tell them that if they're not good, they're not going to get a gift? No, I'm going to give them a gift if they are, for the most part, good. Okay, what did they do wrong? You're gonna give them coal? Loser.
I don't like the idea of threatening children in that way. I really don't.
Always, you know what? If we're being honest, when the Santa Clauses are happening in the mall, who's that freak behind the? Who's the freak?
Andrew, Jesus Christ!
Who's the freak behind the Santa Claus? telling you that you can't, that you've been bad, you've been a naughty boy. Who's the freak? Sorry. I'm spiraling. like I'm happy you got a paid acting gig, but who's the freak?
I do think it's one of those things culturally that we have just swept under the rug. But I do find the fact that there is like an adult older man that signs up for that job
willingly
that's an interesting thing.
It's not like they're being recruited, you know what I mean? It's like a different way, like they're showing up. They're showing up.
They're applying to be Santa.
I mean, at the beginning of this episode, I did say I think I would be an amazing mall Santa.
Now you're saying who's the freak?
And now I'm saying who's that freak who has the kids sitting on their lap.
I don't want to, but I don't like. I do believe that there are some really positively intentioned old men who just want a paycheck.
But you also have to think about these men. Yes, they want a paycheck.
Basically, a mall Santa is a drag queen.
You're right. A mall Santa is a drag queen, but they're also like really good with affirmations. I feel like they want to make people feel good. So they're like, you know what I mean? They want to be like, you are such a good boy. You're such a good girl. You're gonna get your pony this year. What do you want from Santa this year? A pony? Have you been good? Yes. Okay, well, Santa will get you a pony.
I'm sorry, I need to move away from Santa. I think we should put a pin on that one, a button on it, and just say, no disrespect to all mall Santas.
No disrespect to all mall Santas. I don't think that every single one is a freak, and I don't think that most of them are, but for some of them that might be.
I think it's just an easy job for someone who might be a freak to get. It's an easy in for a freak.
But I want
the killer.
This is the killer. I also need like our parents to know that are listening, like the families that are listening, like this is Christmas Day, and I really
imagine someone's like, Mom, like, let's listen to this podcast while we cook before the family comes over.
The Good Children just released a Christmas spectacular special.
Freak.
Who's that damn freak?
It starts with jerking off on Christmas morning. The song.
It's really, we're sick, but not all mall Santas are freaks, and I think that like. You can still go to the mall with your kids and take pictures with the Santa, but I would really hope that your kids recognize that Santa isn't the Punisher, and he is. Yeah, he might see you when you're sleeping. He knows when you're awake, but
creepy.
Like he doesn't really care. Like,
wow,
you did something wrong. Okay,
but you're really like you really kind of changed my perspective on if I would ever raise my kids with Santa in the household. Because I always was very pro that because I lived for Christmas.
You're not going to give your kids the joy of Christmas for at least 10 years of their lives.
I don't like the idea of threatening them with Santa. I don't like the idea of Santa being a punisher.
What if the Santa, Santa wasn't...
But the lore of Santa is he's going to give you coal if you're bad. The reason parents raise their kids with Santa is to be like... Because I remember so many times as a kid when I would act a little fresh.
But when you were a little fresh, when you were getting soap in your mouth.
You're going to get Christmas presents this year. Santa's not giving you presents. And I'm sobbing.
But you don't have to parent your children that way. And I understand. They can go to school. They can go to school when they're in 3rd grade. And someone can say to them, have you been good? And they're like, I don't know. Well, you're going to get coal. What do you mean? Then that's a conversation.
We got to get a Mary Oliver poem for Christmas. You don't have to be good. You don't have to crawl on your knees and hands. No. Just let the soft... I'm going to tell my kids they just have to let the soft animal of their body enjoy love what it wants to love.
There you go. And I think you just
I think a wild goose is going to come for Christmas instead of Santa this year.
Okay.
It's the Christmas...
Now we're losing... I think we're losing sight of a lot of things.
It's the Christmas goose.
All right.
The Christmas goose comes... I know you would love the Christmas goose.
I would love a Christmas goose. I would love a Christmas goose.
What were you going to pivot to? What were we going to talk about?
You were going to pivot. You were going to say, what just happened?
Did you hear something?
No.
What was I going to
You.
It says, it's my house.
I was like, oh my God, we're being infested. No, we were going to pivot away from Santa really quick. You said, I need to pivot away from Santa.
Oh, fuck. What was it? It was going to be interesting. Oh, was there ever a time when you couldn't ask Santa for a gift because you felt like it was too much of a gingy gift?
So there weren't often times that I felt like I was a gingerbread. No, I don't think that I really like prescribed to gingerbread culture when I was a kid. Like I definitely felt it.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like you didn't even allow yourself to say I want a Barbie.
No, because Barbie already existed in my house because I had a sister.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like those things didn't need to be asked for. They were already there. So I was just around it. But you also had a sister, but I think that you did a better job of saying like, I'm a full-on gingerbread house.
Give me the Bratz ski lodge.
And give me the Bratz ski lodge.
Did you know that my mom told me not that long ago that was her sign? That's when she started to figure out that I was gay. Well, she said that. Well, she was like, I remember when you asked her the Bratz ski lodge and we got it for you, and we were so excited about that gift. Like me and Dad were like, something's probably up with this kid.
I bet it's always something's probably up.
Something's probably up with this kid.
Well, I mean, you have to think about now because now we're of the age that we could have a child of that age. How old were you when you got the Bratz ski lodge?
I was
almost
9.
feel like you were 13. Yeah. So you were 9 years old. That would have been a 19-year-old having a kid, which exists.
We all know I wish.
But let's say in 3 years from now, we could have a 9-year-old, and that could have been a normal time. If I was to see my kid want a Bratz ski lodge, of course I'd be like, my child is gay.
I don't think I would. I have such an issue with the concept of toys being gendered to that point. Like, it comes back to the medieval period for me sometimes. I hate to bring it up, but it's like...
Do you hate to bring it up?
It's just like... So, just because a little boy wants to play with a toy that has been marketed towards girls, I don't think remotely indicates sexuality. At all. Like, I don't like...
No, they're just like leaning more into
absurd.
I think that like...
It's like I think that like girls are given the opportunity to be more creative with their toys.
And boys are playing with more like
wiffle ball bats.
But like monsters and trucks.
I also loved that shit, though.
And you loved Legos. But because I think that in the construct of gender.
Yeah, please.
You're balancing your masculinity with your femininity.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times when you're a child, you don't allow yourself, or parents don't allow the space for their children to dive into their femininity,
right?
Because it's deemed
but
as
you
socially
see my
not
issue
acceptable.
with even the concept of using the term masculinity and femininity to describe a toy truck versus a Barbie doll. Like,
I agree.
There is, like, it's all made up.
It's made up.
And then you're a kid, you're the least impacted by those, like, constructs. So it's like the idea that if a little boy wants to play with a Bratz ski lodge, I don't think I'd immediately be like, my kid's gay. Maybe if you pair it with every other behavior pattern I had as a kid, sure. But I think that, like, I think it's so crazy to deny your kid the opportunity to play with a toy because you're afraid they're going to be gay.
It does break my heart that those conversations could happen. And we recently
realized you're wearing gloves.
You like them?
Yeah.
They fit my fingers perfectly.
They do.
Which is shocking because Santa has small hands. But that doesn't mean anything about Santa. Because his reindeer still slays.
We're always talking about erectile dysfunction on this podcast.
It's amazing to partner with somebody like Rocket RX because there's a lot of shame. There's a lot of shame around erectile dysfunction.
Yeah.
And I've felt it personally in the bedroom.
Yeah, I know.
And I never have to worry ever again, Joe.
No, and it's amazing. And it's what I feel good about is, like, it's FDA approved because I think that that's pretty important, I would say. And it's a 100% online, quick and easy consultation. There's no appointment needed.
And you know what? Even if you still have a little bit of shame and you don't want others to know that you're using Rocket RX, it's okay because it comes in discreet, plain packaging that no one is going to know. But at the end of the day, it's better sex made simple.
It's better sex made simple.
No, I mean, God, come on, Joe.
And you can get 40% off your first order when you use code GOODCHILDREN at rocketrx.com.
Again, that's 40% off your first order when you go to rocketrx.com and use code GOODCHILDREN at checkout.
Terms and conditions apply. That's rocketrx.com and you use code GOODCHILDREN at checkout to get 40% off your first order. Are you kidding?
And don't forget, the 40% off at checkout is only applicable for new customers and cannot be combined with other offers.
And it cannot be used on prescriptions. Thank you, Rocket RX.
Thank you, Rocket RX. So what I was saying was that conversation, if you were to go to some parents out there, who's to say, not our listeners, you go, you're a 9-year-old boy, and you say, Dad, I want a Bratz ski lodge. And he says, no, boys don't play with Bratz ski lodges. Then you're done. You shut that off.
Yeah,
and
of
you
course.
Keep going.
Yeah.
And they keep steering that ship for you in the way they want to lead it.
Yes.
And sometimes to kids, you have to say yes. If that's what you want, sure. Money, different situation.
Yeah,
but if they're saying they wanted the Bratz ski lodge, get them the Bratz ski lodge.
I feel like that was like my parents' MO. Like, it wasn't like they were no
Whoa, you just made a whole large fry with that.
That wasn't, I don't think that was fry. It wasn't like they were like championing allies. I think more so my mom was always like,
whatever makes them happy.
Yeah, that vibe.
I think that's what
it is. And that slowly guided me towards the path of being like,
I think it's the parenting of whatever makes them happy.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like, but again, to a certain degree, like we recently had people over too and they saw the Webkinz and they were like, oh my God, how many Webkinz did Joe have again? And someone was like 50. I was like, no, he didn't have 50. He had like 100 and something.
Who were the people in this conversation?
Evan from the Girls Rewatch Pod, well now Broad City Rewatch, was
still called Girls Rewatch.
Girls Rewatch was saying that, didn't Joe have like 50 Webkinz? And I had an interjection. I said, no, he had about 100. They said, I thought I had a lot. And they only had 30.
Yeah, sometimes you have over 100 Webkinz.
But that was because your
like,
parents
can you
wanted
imagine
to make you happy.
Imagine if I had known at 12 years old that having over 100 Webkinz would be a counterpoint brought to me by my alleged best friend for the rest of my life. I wouldn't have been asking for Webkinz.
I think it just shows to you that like you were happy.
I was happy.
Even though like it got to a point where you weren't. You know what I mean? That's a completely different situation.
What are you saying? What does that mean?
I'm like trying to bring up trauma.
Yeah.
You're like, what do you mean I wasn't happy? No, but I think that you had your Webkinz, you had your Bratz ski lodge, and look at how you turned out. Amazing. Gingerbready.
What went wrong with you?
I don't know. I don't know. I got to be like this. Will say I had an easy bake oven. That was pretty cute.
But isn't it crazy that like that's gay? Isn't it crazy that that's gay?
To me, I'm like, how?
Right.
It's like you're baking.
Yes, that's gay. It's gay to bake.
It's gay to bake. It was gay to play house with your cousins, your girl cousins.
Yeah.
You know, when the boy cousins were playing basketball or football.
Playing manhunt.
Or playing video games.
Yeah.
Video games is not necessarily
No, video games is straight. Playing a video game is straight. Yes. Isn't that crazy?
And that's why I think it's also shocking for some people when it's like, oh, you're gay and you play video games? And they're
right.
like, yeah, I'm a gamer. Add the Y.
Does that happen to you a lot?
No, I've just been thinking that I want to get into video games.
Well, you were trying to get that Nintendo Switch.
But I never was one that prescribed to video games because you always were playing video games. And I was like, this is never my thing.
It is crazy. Like, Andrew would come over my house as a kid, and I would play, like, Call of Duty and Halo, and he would just sit on the couch and watch me play it like a devoted girlfriend.
I was like, baby, you hungry?
That's why you were there. You were like, what's the snack going to be today? I was like,
your mom has some snacks upstairs. What's the tea? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, this year for Christmas, what do I want?
Yeah, what do you want for Christmas this year, honey?
I'm no longer saying I want a boyfriend.
You were saying that?
I think last Christmas, I could guarantee you I said that I want a boyfriend.
Okay.
Looking back on that, that's pathetic.
No,
not for everyone. If that's what you want for Christmas, like by all means. But looking back, like there was desperation in my eyes. There's no longer desperation in my eyes. I will say
there's something else. There's like a fungus.
Oh my God, there's so many fungi in these corneas. But I would say for Christmas this year, I would love a Nintendo Switch.
Okay.
I would love maybe like a really, 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 really good book that's going to maybe change my life.
Okay. Ever heard of Catching Fire?
Was the best book I've ever read. Mm-hmm. 1 of the 10. The last thing for Christmas, I haven't had a good pair of like wool comfy socks in a while. I would like those.
Here's the problem though. You can't wash those.
What do you
You
mean?
can't like wash and dry a wool sock, and like you're gonna forget to take them out of the wash and let them air dry, because I have bought beautiful wool socks before and they always just shrink up and then I'm pissed. So it's a really like, I love the idea of a wool sock. Yeah. It's actually amazing. And
I also will say for Christmas, I would love Santa or somebody to like help me install my bidet for Christmas.
I bet you Santa could do that. You should probably ask him.
Should I write a letter to the Santa? Okay. Can I give you the letter? What about you, Joe? What's on your wish list?
It's hard to wish for anything when you already have everything you need. A best friend, a gorgeous podcast, a home, a roof over my head, food to eat, family to come home to, a boyfriend. It's hard to wish for anything outside of that. I don't need anything. I'm simple. I don't need material things. I'm interested in the PS5.
Let's get into our gaming era.
I'm interested in getting one.
I want to sit on that couch with you and I want to play some video games. Yeah. Yeah, I want to play some video games with you. So what's on your wish list this year? Is it a man? Is it a PS5? Is it a Nintendo Switch? Is it a sweater? What is it?
No, I'm going to ask you a few questions, Andrew.
Yeah.
Top, bottom, suck.
Yeah.
Let's do a little round of TBS for the holidays.
Okay.
Have we ever played TBS publicly, or has it only been a Patreon?
I think we've played TBS before.
I don't think it ever did. I think it's always been Patreon. This is kind of a huge moment for the podcast.
Okay.
It's time to play TBS. Top, bottom, suck.
Okay.
So if we haven't played this before publicly, it's fuck, marry, kill, but the rules are top, bottom, suck.
Yeah.
All 3 actions take place at the same time, and it's important to remember that. So TBS, Buddy the Elf,
Yeah.
Buddy's dad, Santa Claus.
Oh my god. Well, okay. Can I just ask a question really quick? How old is Buddy the Elf?
He's an adult. He's like a full-grown adult.
He's a full-grown adult,
40
right?
years old.
Okay, he's like
movie.
40.
Yeah.
I
wouldn't have asked if he was playing
of
a child.
Of course. So, okay. Topping Buddy's dad. I'm going to suck Santa Claus.
Okay.
And I'm going to bottom for Buddy the Elf.
Yeah.
Buddy the Elf is
Do you
just
think he knows what he's doing?
So big. No, but that's actually better because I can like guide along the way.
But
I think I'm more of a
time you're
bottom at this point.
topping his dad.
I'm topping his dad
At the same time that you're bottoming for Buddy. So it's gonna be a lot, it's gonna be a lot of work for you.
Because
you know Santa knows his way around a pussy.
Okay, I'll bottom for Santa, and then I'm gonna while simultaneously sucking like Buddy's huge Yule log. What about you? Would it be probably the same?
I think I would top Buddy, bottom.
I mean, Buddy's dad like is probably a really good top.
I know. I was thinking that, but then it's like sucking Santa just seems crazy to say.
Yeah, but I feel like Santa, like he's gonna be like hoing. You know, he's gonna be having a good time.
But the thing is, like, if Santa's like body type indicates his sexual preferences, like he's a popper's pig.
You're right.
Do you know what I mean? Like he's a real freak.
He's a freak in the sheets.
He's gooning in a crazy way,
Yeah.
and he has giant nipples.
Bologna barbs.
And like really like protruding, like little cocktail weenies.
Don't get me started on a cocktail weenie tip.
So I would say, yeah, I guess I'm gonna suck Santa and let Buddy's dad fuck me.
Okay, that's a good one. Let me think of one really quick for you. Top bottom suck. The robbers from Home Alone, but they're a duo.
Oh,
so
wow.
That's like, I just want to let you know.
So I'm either fucking both of them, topping both of them.
So it's like,
bottom, okay.
It's gonna be crazy. Robbers Home Alone. We're gonna have Mr. Crank.
Okay, Luther
Crank. And then we're gonna finish it out with the Grinch, because I know your lord.
I would top, bottom, and suck Grinch. Okay, Robbers from Home Alone, Luther Crank, and the Grinch.
Yeah.
It sucks because like I want nothing to do with Luther Crank, but I have to. He has to be involved.
But wouldn't I'm just thinking. You want nothing to do with him.
Yeah.
So what would be his role?
I think he'd be topping, which is crazy that would mean having nothing to do with the person.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I'm bottoming for Luther Crank.
I know it's hard, but I think I know where you're gonna go with this one.
I think I'm gonna top both of the Home Alone robbers.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm gonna suck the Grinch.
Okay. I thought you were gonna do the opposite. I thought you were gonna fuck that hairy.
Well, I couldn't justify that. Like, I was thinking about it, and I was like, if his anatomy follows the way his body hair is,
True.
I just don't think I'd really want to.
I get that.
Even though I love a hairy man, I just think that maybe
much.
he's just furry.
He's furry.
He's furry and like in a felty way, in a way that this carpet is furry, and I just don't know if that would feel good.
Yeah, I get that.
I also don't know what would happen, what's going on if I'm sucking him, but I just feel like probably get like a hairball, probably be choking.
You probably would be choking.
Ew, I actually don't find any sexual attraction to the Grinch. Like, I'm just gonna come out and say it. I've been making that joke for like 4 years now, like beyond the podcast, and now that I really put
You've
it
like
to
publicly
mind,
said like a lot of times, like even not on the podcast, like that you would fuck the Grinch.
I know, and now I'm really thinking about the logistics of it, and I think maybe I was just saying that to say it because I don't believe it. Shrek, on the other hand, completely,
because he's not hairy.
Completely different story.
He's not hairy.
Completely different story.
Yeah.
Completely.
And like his
story.
like little mushroom ears, like those little like, they just kind of like pop out a little bit from the head. It's like, might as well suck that too. I feel like that's enough for top bottom suck.
Yeah, that was almost crazy.
It was kind of like
really like behind the safety of Patreon. It feels really different than publicly.
Like publicly, like saying top bottom suck, like in the Christmas spirit, like on Christmas Day. Like I kind of feel like it kind of goes back to jerking off on Christmas. I feel horrible. Like I feel like the way
that's because you're afraid of Santa. That bitch. I'm pissed about him. I'm really upset with him.
You would like to see him in your office?
Yeah, I really would.
Well,
that Popper's pig.
I would want to know how Mrs. Claus has been treated. I'm being serious. I'm sorry. I'm being serious.
Listen, I think about this all the time. The best representation of Mrs. Claus we've ever seen is Zachariah Porter's Mrs. Claus series. And honestly, it's not Christmas yet when we're recording this. And I actually have been thinking about Mrs. Claus coming back to Zachariah's Instagram every day.
Every single day. I
really am like, fuck, it's happening so soon. Like, really, like, that is, I think, the accurate representation of Mrs. Claus. A mob wife. It's exactly what she is. It just makes total sense. But you are really giving her today.
Well, how can you not when you have a gorgeous little, like, bob? Like should I take the hat off for a second?
Wait, you're kidding. Honestly, it looks more masculine with the hat off.
You think?
So is that what Santa's hair is? Because I feel like it's longer.
It's absolutely longer. This costume is just not it.
It wasn't cheap.
Well, I mean, the actual suit itself is quite glorious.
But that wig is pretty lousy. It's a lousy wig.
Well, are we going to take a call?
Yeah. Yeah, we are.
Let's take a call.
Hi, Joe and Andrew. I am fully obsessed with you guys, and I'm also a podcaster, so you guys are like my inspiration of life. Okay, so when I was 18, all my friends moved away and went to college, and I didn't have the savings for that. I didn't have the motivation for that. I didn't have the grades for that. I didn't have the GPA for that. Let's be real. And so I was like, guys, like, I cannot live in this hometown if you're all leaving me. Like, I'm going to die, actually. So I moved in with my best friend in New York City, and I was literally, like, sleeping in the dorm rooms with her, which is honestly insane because I was not going to college. Anyways, Christmas came, and my friend that I was living with went back home, and I still was just not in a good place with my family. I was like, I don't want to go home. I want to be in New York City for Christmas, and I was romanticizing it so much. And then the day came, and I was so sad. I was so sad. I mean, just, you think, like, it's almost better sometimes to be, okay, I feel like I'm, like, talking so long. But honestly, at some point, it's almost better to be with your toxic-ass family than to be alone on a holiday. I'm not going to lie. At least there's some drama to keep me entertained. So luckily, I had another friend in New York City, and he invited me to go over to his place with his family. So I did end up having a great holiday, but I just thought, I don't know. Love you guys.
Okay. Next, I will say, drop the pod. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna call in,
I thought you meant like drop it isn't like give up on the podcast. Holy shit! I was like,
imagine.
I was like, whoa, it's just gonna be a nasty.
No,
kind
I mean,
of time.
like she's
talking. Yeah, you should have promoted the podcast. Promote the podcast. And also, your storytelling was excellent. You said you were going on too long. I didn't feel that at all.
I didn't feel it at all either. You took me there. I will say, you're right. Regardless if you have a toxic family or you feel like, oh, I don't know if I want to be with them, I want to be somewhere else, you are going to think about being at home for the holidays.
Because it is that it's very romanticized to be alone on like Christmas. I remember like the first year that I lived in New York, I went back to the city like the day after Christmas. I was going back to Massapequa like the next day, but I just wanted like one day to be in New York, and you weren't home yet, and I was like alone in the apartment. And I remember getting back, walking into the doors, and immediately turning around and going back to Massapequa. I was like, oh, I hate this feeling. Why the fuck did I come back here to sit alone and watch TV? Like,
it's a stupid feeling.
It was a really devastating, weird feeling. It sucks. Like, that's the thing with family. Like, you can't escape it, even when you think you can. Except people who do and have like a really actually like abusive family, and then they like end up leaving their family and they're happy. So good for those people.
I think they find their own family and they create their own memories.
Yeah, that's amazing. Unfortunately, we're not there. We're actually, I guess, fortunately, we're not there.
Fortunately, we're not there. Unfortunately, we're not there. I would say like, yeah, I want to be at my family's home for Christmas.
Yeah.
smelling the smells, smelling the cookies, eating the food, being with my nieces.
But listen, New York on Christmas.
I'm sorry. It's kind of like you just said that. It's kind of like how. So about those Mets, like you just wanted to start a conversation. New York on Christmas.
Because come on, I have to. Last night I was going to a friend's birthday dinner and I was wearing a coat for the first time this season, and I was just walking down the street and I said to Ross, "This is why I live here.
Yeah.
I live here to wear a coat. Like I don't live here to be sweating in the summer or to hang out with people or to have crazy nightlife experiences. I live in New York City to walk down the street in the winter wearing a coat. Nothing makes me happier. Like genuinely everything feels okay when I am like, there's like a blustery wind and I'm in a coat and I'm like, oh, I'm in a movie. I'm officially in a movie. And like, that's my goal at all times. As we know, my goal is to feel like I'm in a movie at all times. And I think that that's the reason I live here, is to be in a Christmas movie. So I get why you did that. I totally get it. And honestly, like, I'm sure there was a little part of you, because if this was me in the situation, I'd feel this way, that there's like a third.
I really take it back to the medieval times.
No, there's like, and whenever I'm like in like a really sad moment, I do have that moment where I like zoom out.
Yeah.
And I have like the third person point of view, like the movie version. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sad and alone on Christmas Day. You know, and you're like, I'm never going to forget this moment. This is a cinematic moment.
It's going to stay with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, Well, I've been alone for a while. Anyways, everybody, Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Is that how you say that?
Merry?
Yeah.
Merry Christmas.
Is that how
Merry? Merry Christmas. It would be merry. Yeah,
well,
you're right.
for us, it's definitely, I think in like some parts of the United States, they say Merry Christmas, but it's very like California and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. That's why. It's because of NSYNC. Merry Christmas and happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Merry Christmas. Merry.
Merry.
That's very Long Island.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. And happy holidays.
And happy holidays. And especially happy holidays.
Yeah.
Especially happy holidays.
Happy Moss. Merry Moss.
Merry Moss.
Merry Moss. You took Christ out of Christmas this year.
Welcome to this. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this week's episode. We will see you next week.
You know what to do in the meantime. Spread the love. Spread the presents to your friends this year. Tell them about Good Children. Write a review. Leave us a little present. You know where to find us. Across all social media platforms at Good Children Pod. I'm on Instagram at Andrew Muscarella.
I'm on Instagram at Joe Hegyes. And don't forget, for just $7 a month, you can join us on Patreon for a brand new video/audio episode every single Friday, plus access to over 100 plus episodes from the backlog and access to our group chats. There's 4 of them right now.
And we're going on tour. We're going on tour. Indianapolis. We'll be
We'll
there
see
February
you
19th.
So soon.
February 20th in Chicago, The Late Show. There are still tickets. And then in Madison, Wisconsin on February 21st. Let's sell it out.
There's a few tickets left in Madison. It's
a perfect time. It's Christmas Day. It's the holiday season. Buy a ticket for your friends. And say I bought you a flight as well.
Easy last minute Christmas gift. You're seeing your friend. You say, fuck, I forgot to get them a gift. Say, I know you have no idea who these 2 people are. And I know that we both live in New Jersey. But we're going to Madison, Wisconsin on February 21st to see Good Children live.
That's easy.
And all you have to do, I got us the tickets. All you have to do is get us the room and board and the flight.
Easy.
And that's a perfect gift for somebody.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time. Presents under the tree with my whole family. And he's looking at me. Yeah, I'm talking JC. All the glittering lights. Santa came in last night. Ate the cookies and milk. While I jerked off my silk pajamas.
Jerking off on Christmas morning. Never felt the same. Walking through the church doors horny. Never felt so shamed. Jerking off on Christmas morning. Jerking off on Christmas morning. Jerking off on Christmas morning. Santa came last night, but I'm coming today.
We can't play that.
Roll it back.
Roll it back.
Now turning the corner is Joe Hegyes on his Give a Gift Foundation float, singing the song Christmas of a Lifetime. Let's welcome Joe.
Christmas time, filled with laughter, smiles and bright eyes, builds up faster and nobody stops and looks around. Too busy planning parties and happenings. What's the purpose behind the presents, Christmas trees? Maybe you explain to me. Christmas Eve is filled with fun, getting pressed from everyone. Why is this all begun? Let's take a chance, a path to run into the past when we have come to the beginning of a lifetime.